Company laid off all recruiters, including myself. So, ask me anything about how companies really hire. Edit. Thank you for asking questions. I hope it was helpful for some of you. I will no longer be responding to this post. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your question. Take care out there. 1. Do computers just read the resumes and forward the ones containing the magic words? 2. Do cover letters have to be so formal and traditional? 3. Aside from applying on the job board, what else can one do for a specific role they really want that's posted? No connections. 4. How does one successfully pivot careers without connections and just through the company's career page? Why do they make you fill out your resume again in individual time-consuming fields? Sadism? Our recruiting hell, they'll benefit a lot. Real sorry for the layoff. What type of keywords or phrases does the resume tracking software look for? As a tech recruiter, how do you determine how to filter candidates given the subject matter is assumedly not something you know a whole lot about? How often is race culture a factor? What is considered job hopping nowadays for white-collar professionals? Besides the obvious, i.e., 2 jobs in 1 year, how much employment change for an applicant is seen as problematic for potential employers? Is there a ratio? What's a fraction of jobs that get filled by truly external candidates as opposite to employee referrals, internal candidates, and those brought in by recruiters? I mean, is it even worth to apply without any inside connections? I interview well but don't get a lot of calls. In the past, if I get a call back, I usually get an offer. How could I game the system to improve my chances of getting on the phone with someone? Question: what is actually validated? Are references called? Are former employers called? If so, what information is exchanged? You've talked about ageism a few times in the comments section. Can you elaborate on this concept? Why has this become such a major problem in tech? At what age are you considered old? Are certain roles better for more aged and experienced people? If you're hiring a senior dev, director, or VP, wouldn't you want them to have the relevant experience? How can ageism be avoided? If someone makes it known that they have a disability ahead of time, do they still get seriously considered? Or is their resume tossed in the trash? I'm thinking along the lines of migraines, autism, ADHD, etc. Do you think companies will start to shift their stance more in the next few years on switching to WFH instead of working in office? Especially with workers pushing back on going into office? I have multiple mental health challenges: CPTSD, bipolar type 2, generalized anxiety disorder, ASD, and I'm in my 40s. How badly does this affect my prospects? For an applicant, how and when do you ask about salary and benefits? How should an applicant counteroffer? I see a few DM me your resume. Maybe you could start a biz helping people get through the recruiting process? $100 to look at a resume and tweak it for the computer in-person version. Why don't you send rejection letters to unsuccessful applicants? Even a boilerplate email would be more polite than nothing. Best thing to do during an interview to get the job? At some tipping point, the broken hiring system will become too costly for the country. Increased homelessness, inability to maintain consumer purchasing, massive poverty, and loss of faith in capitalism. Do you see any event in the future that force this system to become more fair? It's too brutal for the working classes. Doesn't seem sustainable. Would you agree this is the worst economy in a long time? I know I took nearly a 50 pay cut just to stay employed. What is it with the stupid cover letter? It's been 3 weeks since I had the first interview with the hiring manager. Just followed up with recruiter about next steps. How fucked am I? If a department is 80 female, and the management team is 80 male, and 75 of the men on the team are in management, including 3 that were promoted from the team, 2 of whom were newer than the female applicants, how can they find that there is no gender discrimination? I'm 57 and self-employed. I've been looking around for a job that will provide some income security and pick up the cost of my health insurance. Maybe supplement my retirement savings. Barring health conditions and accidents, I figure I'm looking at least 13 more years of work before I can even think about retirement. Perhaps more. I currently have 35 years of experience in my field and I can't even get a nibble from any of the companies I've applied for. I'm thinking it's because of my age. Am I right? Great take on everything. Thank you very much. Are unique or standard resumes more likely to get a response? What signs should you look for to continue pursuing versus write a company off? What to look for that indicates a job post is not actually looking to hire? What is the best way to negotiate pay and benefits? Sorry if this isn't applicable to your experience. Do they keep old applications on file to see if you apply again later? I have a child graduating college with great grades in an engineering field. He'll be shopping that first job soon. He's graduating in the deep south, but interested in living in the west or maybe Texas. He wants a role in one of these companies that have the multi-year shop you-around training program for new grads. But he isn't at one of the schools where his target companies recruit. But he's a great candidate, aka brown with high grades and real work experience. What is the right way to get in touch with these companies to get into the pool for consideration? Tell us the best way to answer some important questions that feel like they are a trap to screw you over and out of the job. Like when they don't post a pay range or rate for a job, but then ask you what you're looking for in pay. Or what are your strengths or weaknesses? What are they really looking for in answers to questions like those and other similar trap-type questions? JobScan keeps telling me to change the verb tense on keywords from the job listing, e.g. it'll ding me for not having the word manage in enough, but the word managed will be in there 5-6 times. Are ATS systems really that picky and bad at recognizing content? Can you be blacklisted? I feel like I am blacklisted by a large tech company in my area after working for the 3 PETA leaders that services them. I know several people that work for them still and always have recommendations and references. I have yet to get another interview after making it through 4 rounds the first time I applied 4 years ago. My former recruiter has gone on to bigger and better things, but I was told I wasn't hired because they ran out of headcount at the time. So, I've always wondered, does sending a follow-up thank you actually help the prospective hire? What about being upfront about mental illness, if one exists? All over the disclaimer surveys include anxiety and PTSD. But what do those actually do for the prospective hire? With the workers' market of a couple years ago where the nobody wants to work anymore attitude rose up again, and now it's more of a nobody wants to hire anymore. Are employers intentionally not filling open roles just to stick it to the working class? I didn't think a termination agreement that limited your speech could be enforceable if they aren't paying a significant severance. Am I wrong? So I had a recruiter call me a few times for a job at a large gaming company. I was a perfect fit for the role. Each time he called, it seemed like he wasn't even paying attention to what I was saying, even though he was asking me questions. On the 3rd call, he said he was speaking with the company that day and asked if I was still available. Never heard back. Are they that overwhelmed that they just aren't paying attention and never follow up?